Chat, life is worth living today. A new Mega Man game finally got announced. It is unfortunately going to be bare minimum another 8 year gap from when Mega Man 11 released, potentially even a 9 year gap, because it's only been said to be a 2027 release. We don't know when specifically. I'm high key hoping they keep it as 8, not just because it come out sooner, but I just think that'd be more thematic. 8 constantly reappears with like Robot Masters and Mavericks and all that. It'd be nice if it was another 8 year gap, especially just to mirror the previous one, but I digress. Mega Man Dual Override. So first of all, shout out to Brian Brodo, dude, of the Rockman Corner website, and also just generally very knowledgeable about Mega Man, what's going on with the franchise from like an insider perspective. I'll be referencing some of his tweets alongside his blog, Rockman Corner, throughout this video, just because there's so much interesting information there. But yeah, we know that was at one point titled Mega Man 12, which would make sense. This very much does look to be a sort of direct building on what we got with Mega Man 11. So I find it very interesting that they did switch up on that and have it be Mega Man Dual Override instead. So I don't know if there's going to be like a larger thematic reason as to why that's the case. I think my current theory on it anyway right now is I feel like this is probably done to make it less intimidating as a jumping on point for new Mega Man fans. It didn't really seem to be much of a point of intimidation for Mega Man 11 per se, because that still went on to become the highest selling game in the franchise. But using a subtitle instead of a number sort of, in a way, disconnects it from the history. I don't think it's necessarily meaning that we're going to see like uh, sort of a soft reword. I don't think that necessarily means we're going to see like a soft reboot idea as like Mega Man 11 kind of was, where the only continuity it mainly seemed to draw upon is like the actual origin with like I don't think it's going to be as much of a I at least hope it's not going to be as much of a soft reboot sort of idea as Mega Man 11 was, where like it is still the same canon, still building on ideas, but all it really references for the past history of the franchise is like Mega Man's origin, and then we get like at most minor Easter eggs, like there being a Cossack robot among the Robot Master lines, and other just minor stuff like that. I am hoping we see more here, especially since the end of the trailer implies Proto Man involvement, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, no, I think it's probably just a title change done sort of like modernize Mega Man in the sense of like we're not doing the numbered sequels. It's something that a new fan is going to be less intimidated to jump in on. Just overall to seem more appealing from a marketing standpoint. Granted, even then, the name Dual Override wouldn't come out of nowhere. So from that perspective, I'm thinking, okay, potentially this could have something to do with the double gear system for Mega Man 11 if we're still trying to build on those past ideas. Like maybe we're going to see the gear boosted to an even higher degree, or being even more integral somehow, or just having some sort of like upgraded involvement from it. I don't know if that necessarily be the case though, if they're trying to look to make that a mainstay gimmick, or if they're going to be dropping that in favor of something else. Part of it could also just be referring again to the potential return of Proto Man. I have to imagine if he's back, he's probably going to be a playable character again, like he was as DLC in Mega Man 9, and then from the base game from the get go in Mega Man 10. His absence was very much felt in Mega Man 11, along with the other like side characters in that sense, like Bass and Treble. Like I'm very much hoping that we see more of these elements of the older classic Mega Man games brought back into this. And there's already some deep cuts we can see within the trailer. I suppose I'll go into that now, since that's what I'm probably titling the video after anyway. So right from the start, we're opening up in this hallway, and you can see first Easter egg off the bat. This isn't necessarily something indicative of the games. This is just like, intro hype. We've got one with the 1987 right up the top there, 1987 being the year Mega Man 1 released, then 1988 for Mega Man 2, and then the hall continues just light up 3, 1990, 4, 1991, 5, 1992, 6, 1993, going on like that until we get towards the later parts of it where we have 11, the most recent, 2018. And then the one over here that's counting up because we're building to it now in the future. It hasn't been released yet. And in its place is just 88. So So I have mixed thoughts on why this would be an 88. Uh, I mean, I guess the most obvious answer as to why right at the gate is just that's just what these number patterns look like by default when there's not a number being displayed. I forget the technical term. Maybe I'd have Googled it and put it in editing. It's popping up right now. But yeah, no, it's like when you see those microwave clocks where even though if there's technically nothing on the timer yet, you can see the outline of the 88. I have to imagine it is something like that. And it's not. It's less so 88 having something to do with the game or the title. If they're looking to do an Easter egg, I do feel like they just do 87 to reference 1987 being the franchise's start. Maybe it's something to do with Mega Man 2 since that was released in 1998, but I doubt that's like a very specific callback they're trying to make. Nothing else about the trailer seems to imply intentionally Mega Man 2 is being referenced here. You get to the door, it inputs the passcode of DLN001, which of course stands for Dr. Light number 001, Mega Man serial code. Another little reference there. So yeah, we enter, we see the boy, my goat. So hyped to see him again. And again, like, this really does go to show that Capcom like is putting their money where their mouth is when they had said just a few days ago that they're looking to grow the Mega Man franchise. I remember being in the Mega Man subreddit when this report dropped, and everybody's like, okay, we'll believe it when we see it. It's good to hear that they're saying that, but they say stuff like this in previous years as well. It's nice they're saying this unprompted this year, though. But again, we'll believe it when we see it. And by God, are we seeing it? It was so amazing to see this as like one of the end announcements for the Game Awards to show that they're like putting that much faith in it, that this is something that they want to hype up to that degree, where it wasn't lumped in alongside the other Capcom projects that were just sort of burned through, like in that one segment they did. I'm very glad that they're giving this the hype and gravitas I hope for it to have. But yeah, skipping past that, teleports out, and we get into the actual gameplay now. So, first impressions, seeing the model, yes, in game and seeing the stage around. So, throughout the stage, it very much seems to give idea that this is a firework themed stage, and we probably have a firework themed Robot Master. But we also have like other interesting background details, like this giant robot and this giant hand that flops around. We've also got a little Beat cameo. I'm pretty curious as to why that'd be there in a Robot Master stage, but I'm imagining this was like probably another case of just a previous area being taken over, some of the decorations that were remaining. Another interesting thing to note is that there's these balloons in the background. I don't know if they're going to be important in any way because we don't really see them throughout the stage within the rest of the trailer. But right off the bat, that is kind of like reminding me of Bounce Man stage from Mega Man 11. So yeah, this is also our first look at the model for Mega Man himself. And I find it interesting. Let me see if I can pause in like a better frame for this. So when I was first watching this trailer on my phone, I thought it was just like the Mega Man 11 model because it was small screen I was looking at. But like closer inspection, that's clearly not the case. He seems to be like a bit leaner, like a bit closer to proportions that he had in say Mega Man 8. I find that to be a particular point of interest because I know that was an idea they were playing around with for Mega Man 11. And they had some mock-ups of that. And it does sort of feel like a marriage of the ideas of like this of this design approach of having him be more like Mega Man 8 as a 3D model in comparison to what we got, which is like, you know, a bit chunkier of a Mega Man. We got him a bit shorter, sort of like a bit closer almost to the NES proportions for Mega Man. I think it's quite interesting. That seems to be sort of like a combination of those two ideas. I don't know if that was like something they had done intentionally within that design or if it's just what they felt was best for it. But either way, I quite like it. I prefer it to the Mega Man 11 design at least. Especially with the cell shading they've got going on for it. It just looks beautiful in my opinion. So yeah, going through more of the trailer, we got obviously the Met right off the bat. It'd be more surprising if the Mets didn't return. But, you know, always nice to see them back. Then we go into this room. Again, we got these like fireworks sparkler things shooting out from the bottom. I also did notice this like recurring motif of like this circle head, big eyes, little mouth, and then like, you know, the radiating spikes. I don't know if that's going to be related to the design of the Robot Master at all, but I think that'd be quite interesting. You also see right off the bat here, there's these blueprints in the background for Gamma, and you can even see Wily within like the top there. I don't know if like that's just a cameo thing to, please longtime fans, big fans of the lore. But I think that's neat either way. It still remains to be seen if that has any sort of relation to the actual Robot Master, but either way, I do appreciate it. Skipping ahead, you can see a larger version of it even here on this pillar, right in the middle of this room, along with seeing two tellies. Glad to have them back as well. Yeah, no, we just get a brief glimpse of this room, get the fireworks again. So yeah, very much consistent stage element throughout. And again, both a sort of returning enemy. I did look it up just to make sure I got the name right. And unfortunately, the enemy I'm thinking of is called PP from Mega Man 2. You might remember that one from Crash Man stage. Again, another explosion-based Robot Master. I think it might have appeared in a couple stages also, but that's the one where I mainly remember it from. But yeah, no, it's a bird. Drops this little bomb thing here, explodes into a bunch of firework rockets, which then attack Mega Man in turn. Then we can see more of the background here. Again, we have another giant robot similar to the one we saw at the beginning of the stage, along with just more of the cityscape and some fireworks in the background. Also got these exploding platforms that pop up. And this one enemy here that seems to shoot out some other kind of explosive there. So yeah, very consistent so far. This seems to be an explosion and fireworks specifically based stage. And then we just get end shot of him teleporting out. And then teleporting back in, two more fireworks. Then he gotta hit that sick rooftop aura pose where he airs out, I guess. And we get the title logo. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of this logo. It feels very flat in comparison to the previous modern Mega Man game logos we've had. For 11, it had radiance and outlines more like drop shadow and stuff. And it's for this one, it's very much just solid color, texture on top. It doesn't feel as professional as I would say. This feels like a fairly easy fan mock-up somebody could do. If I saw this logo out of the context of this being attached to an actual Mega Man trailer, I'd be questioning it as fake, low key. So yeah, I don't know if this is planned final logo or not, but I wouldn't mind seeing some changes to it. So yeah, that's the main thing we have to talk about for the trailer. We get the announce of 2027 as release, and then fade out on the Proto Man whistle. Love it. Hoping this really does mean we're getting him back. So yeah, that's most of what I have to talk about for the actual content of the trailer. Talking more about generally what's going on around this and what else we can glean from that in terms of production of this game. So for one, mentioned before, Capcom has said they are looking to grow Mega Man. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit more going behind this one than was for 11, a bit more in budget or a bit more in the actual team size, because Mega Man 11 famously had a pretty small team compared to other Capcom projects. Also, I don't know this as a fact, obviously, I'm not a Capcom developer, but I have to imagine it's being made on the RE engine, which is Capcom's modern proprietary engine. Mega Man 11 was developed in a bit of an older one, the MT framework. And here's the thing, from a budget perspective, it would make sense for them to reuse it because they have a lot of work done there already. But if they are really trying to modernize and push Mega Man forward, it makes sense to move it to their more modern game engine, which they've already experimented with having Mega Man be able to play in. This was actually for a game development program at a university in Japan, where students got to experiment around with making their own sort of Mega Man-like game within Capcom's engine. But I just see that as another reason why this would be the engine that they're using. Now, I don't necessarily know all the implications of that. I'm no expert on Capcom's proprietary engine. Perhaps somebody more knowledgeable than me would be able to shed some light on that. But based on what I do know, I do find this to be likely for what they're developing in. Now on to Proto Dude's tweets about this. So like I said before, he's an insider. He knows a lot more information than most of us tend to do on this. And it's interesting to note that he stated this project has been in development on and off for a couple years. That does make sense. Considering the timeline of what happened after Mega Man was released. Mega Man 11 was a success. I have to imagine it might have gotten greenlit pretty soon after the sales numbers for it came in. But then, it was only a couple years after that the pandemic hit. So I imagine that could have been a potential blow to development. And there's also other behind-the-scenes stuff going on, Tsuchiya, Capcom's former Mega Man head, had left. I forget what year that was. I want to say it was 2023. So again, I imagine that could have been something that potentially had set things back. I don't know. I'm not privy to the internal politics of Capcom and Mega Man. But yeah, it is interesting that it's been developed for this long. Presumably has a lot of the game done already, hopefully. It is also interesting that I know specifically this is not Tyson. For those of you unfamiliar, Tyson was the name of a Mega Man project that got leaked in like the huge Capcom like data leak that happened back in 2020. All we really known about Tyson is one, the name Rockman Tyson, or roughly translated to like Rockman match, specifically match in competitive sense. I know there's like some people theorizing it was a puzzle game based on the word match before, but no, it wouldn't be in that like sense. We also knew it was supposedly a Mega Man game with more of a budget behind it, which has me really interested considering it's possible, if not likely, these two projects were being developed alongside each other, and shows like more potential planning for the Mega Man franchise than we had given like Capcom credit for within these past years, as we had seemingly been, well, not seemingly, it has been a content drought of sorts, but like they had more cooking under the hood than we thought. It's also interesting to note that he says this is a keystone project of the 40th anniversary, but not the only one, but a big one. So there's a lot of implication to this. Mega Man's 40th anniversary would be 2027 when Dual Override comes out, and that does have me wondering if that means it's going to be a release closer to later in the year, since Mega Man's anniversary is December 17th. I really am hoping it's earlier in the year, but like that'd make more sense if it's hoping to be an anniversary release. There's also the matter of them saying it's not the only one, but a big one. So a lot of people have been theorizing about this. Does this mean we're still getting Tyson? Does this mean we're getting something else potentially? Is this just tying back into stuff we already know about, like what's coming out for Mega Man, like the Udon Entertainment comic run for Mega Man X? Could this even mean it's being tied into the live action Mega Man movie that's been rumored about for years? Who knows? Hopefully not the latter. But I do think it is interesting to note in another tweet he said, in response to another person questioning why the wait, why now, he specifically said it would be coming out then for new merchandise and cross media synergy. So that in of itself, very interesting statement for what like is potentially going on. That does have me again questioning. I don't want to get too hopeful here, but we have seen like a lot of hype for Mega Man X these past few years between X Dive. They had that Minecraft crossover of all things, and it also was just recently announced that Mega Man X is going to be getting its own comic line after the success of the one shot from the Mega Man Timelines anthology. I don't want to have too much hope, but like X9 could be possible. That's all I really have to say about that, though. The last notable things to mention, I'd say, is what's on the website for it. There's not much for the main page, but we do know there's a Robot Master Design Contest. I won't go like too much into the specifics of that here. That would just be like me reading off rules you can go find for yourself if you're interested in participating. I know I certainly will be wanting to. But it is interesting to note the requirements for the design and how that's potentially going to impact what we see in the game. We've been given this base design to work off of, a robot with suction arm temporary, to make designs built around. It is interesting to note like the levels of asymmetry within this design. There's the one suction arm right off the bat, obviously, but also one leg does have this coil around it while the other doesn't. Are they hoping for like asymmetry within that aspect of the design as well, or just within the arm? But either way, this does imply that we're getting a suction-based Robot Master as another one of the 8. This immediately, to me, brings up ideas of like Dustman, who similarly had a suction bit going on. But I do think it's interesting to note that just from this like one very short trailer we've gotten in this one design contest, we can probably comfortably figure out what like roughly 25% of the Robot Master roster is. We have one guy that sucks stuff. Mega Man's probably going to get a weapon that sucks stuff. And we have one guy that's probably related to fireworks. And Mega Man might get some like type of firecracker projectile to work with. But yeah, I'd say that's probably roughly all we have for information right now. As we get more stuff coming, I'll probably make more videos. So yeah, if you want to see more for that, don't forget to hit those buttons down there. You know, you probably know them. And I guess I'll see you next time. Having to make an update after editing all of this. Proto Dude dropped another tweet. Apparently, the fact that Gamma was originally intended to feature instead of Bomb Man in the Mega Man episode of Secret Level that released. Was that this year? Time's not real. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was this year, yeah. But apparently, the reason it was intended or the reason it was swapped out does have to do with the Gamma schematics appearing in Dual Override. So I guess we need to consider that more heavily when theorizing what Mega Man Dual Override is going to be about. Are they going to be like bringing back elements of Mega Man 3 in general and doing a throwback in that way, the same way that Mega Man 11 was doing throwbacks to the origin of Wily and Light's beef, but like fleshing that out more? Is this going to have to do more with the energy sources from Mega Man 3 that were powering Gamma? Is Wily going to bust out Gamma 2, except instead of Gamma 2, it's going to be called Sigma? It's actually the original Sigma body. Who knows? That would be horrible, but like, that would be an ass plot twist, but like, they could do anything. It's a really exciting time right now. I definitely do feel like it can be like a good point of contention and contrast between Light and Wily's characters. Again, similarly to how the Double Gear system did that for Mega Man 11, where it really showed off how Light cares for the robots as like the potential of sentient beings, where Wily only sees them as tools. If this is just another case of like Wily taking something that Light had intended to be a peacekeeper with Gamma and trying to run it back as a weapon of destruction again, I do see how there could be interest there in like showing off the differences of their characters again and like sort of redoing this plot idea in like a game that can take better advantage of it, because you can do more storytelling and cutscenes in Mega Man Dual Override than they probably knew how to do in Mega Man 3. Like, we already have an example of them reusing a plot point and doing it better the second time around, now that they're put more like thought and like actual story into a game, when like the concept basically for Quint got to be reused for Rockman Shadow and Mega Man Base Challenger from the future. So yeah, no, I'm down. I'm down to see where this goes. Once again, hit the buttons down there if you want to hear me out more about this later.